Welcome to the Market Me podcast with your host, Mike Mall. Each episode of Market Me deconstructs real campaigns for actual businesses to improve their marketing efforts. Mike is the founder of Social Media House and a digital marketing consultant who teaches marketing strategy to executives and their teams from small business to Fortune 500 companies. Let's get started.
All right, on this episode of the Market Me podcast, we're talking to Zachary Babcock. From 5 years in prison to a six-figure business owner, Zachary helps entrepreneurs launch, grow, and monetize top-shelf passive income businesses and personal brands. You've also got a podcast called Underdog Empowerment, which interviews is interviewed over 100 celebrities and alpha entrepreneurs, and talking about everything from life to business. So really interesting show, really interesting guy. Thanks so much for joining me.
Dude, Mike, I'm excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your story. I mean, it's obviously not super common, fairly unique. So I'd love for you to dive into your backstory.
Yeah, dude. I did some prison time for being a young and dumb. It's the best way to put it. But really, I'll give you the high Cliff Notes version, and then we can always unpack more. But I grew up without a father. Was raised by an excellent mother, best mom I could ever have. But I always did things to try and fit in with the other crowd, to be accepted, and things that are outside of my character growing up. And that led me to get in a lot of trouble. And I never had no chief aim in life. And then by the time I was 17, I caught some cases. And I went away on a 7-year sentence, and I went away for 4 years flat. Got out, when I was 19, got out when I was 23, and then was out for about 2 years. And then I went back to prison for DWI just 20 days before my twin sons were born. And Mike, that was it, man. That moment was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. And that's when I said, dude, I'm done. I don't know how I'm going to live this happy and successful life, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to live that life and be in my kid's life. And so I've been moving in another direction ever since.
Yeah, that's such a great story. Cause I mean, you do hear about a lot of people who can't break out of that pattern, who can't get out of that cycle and kind of end up, in a bad space over and over again. So, I mean, kudos to you. That's an amazing recovery, if you will, from kind of the path you were going down.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man.
So you get out. I can only imagine, these ideas circling around in your head, like what's next? Where do I go? Employment in that I understand can be difficult when you have a record. So walk me through kind of where'd you go from there? How'd you get to the next level?
That's funny, dude, because it's exactly how it is too. And it was what was going through my head, dude. And so when I went back the second time, I went back for 8 months. Now, the first time I did over 4 years, but that 8 months felt 100 times longer than that first 4 years because I was away from my kids. But I didn't know how long I was going to be away that time either until I had my parole date. But that whole time I was in there, I knew that I went back to prison because I made poor choices after I got fired from my job for being a convicted felon. I was like, they fired me after I got a promotion because I'm a convicted felon. I'm never going to be able to have a good job, and all these crazy, stupid things are going through my mind. Like I'll never be able to put my past behind me. And so I knew that was a thing in my head. And so while I was in prison the second time, I started developing like, all right, well, the whole Michael Brown situation happened. I'm from Ferguson, Missouri. While I was locked up in 2014, this second time, I'm like, man, media's garbage just for painting my city to be, I grew up here. It's not like that, but it's a very unfortunate situation that happened. I'm sitting there like, well, man, I can create these wristbands that say I heart Ferguson on them and these t-shirts and go door to door and sell them. And that was my plan. Hell of a business plan, by the way. but that was it heading out, and it never did come to fruition. Ended up getting my start in network marketing, but that was the plan, like coming out, like I'm going to have to do something on my own because I'm not going to be able to get a good job.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, I think, for a lot of people, the idea of creating for themselves, creating opportunity is like, it's a really intimidating idea. It's a bit daunting. I know, like when I was getting started coming out of working for an insurance company, like again, different path, but like, I was like, I'm not hireable So I better like figure this shit out. Like I better make something work. So how do you think about that? I mean, did you have, it seemed like the time that you were away would take you out of the college universe. Like, where did you kind of come up with these ideas? Was it mostly online? Was it just like, I'm just going to make shit up and go with it? Like, how did you create those opportunities for yourself?
Yeah. It's part of who I am. I've always been the risk taker, the jump off the cliff and grow the wings on the way down kind of guy. And that has its pros and it has its cons too. Obviously it landed me in prison a lot because I was that risk taker, whatnot. But so I've always been that type. But to like get into understanding a business, really, it's because I was gonna do whatever it took to make it happen, but also a lot of dumb luck that played a part into it too. People say, "Oh, luck's not real." Well, bullshit. It is real. It's very real. and it happens all the time now. People that constantly put them in a position to get lucky get more luckier than others, right? But luck is real. So what I mean by that is, when I got out, I didn't know even the word entrepreneurship even meant, but I knew that I always had that in me, like the entrepreneurial spirit. I just didn't know what it was. Well, when I tried to get out, I couldn't find a job anywhere. Like I was trying to get a job like under the table at a bar and grill as a cook or something, or anything just to pay the bills to fund this wristband idea that I had. And I couldn't find it anywhere for 2 months of looking straight. And like, I'm like, shit, I got my kids to feed and all this stuff. And then I got introduced to network marketing. And then I didn't even know what network marketing was at the time. So you couldn't even scare me off with the word pyramid scheme. And so I got into that. And that's what, and I'm no longer in network marketing, but I did it for about 2 years. And I'm super grateful for it because it introduced me to what personal development is. It introduced me to, started get like, you don't take, so the reason why network marketing wasn't for me is because you don't take on all the risk of a real entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Like it's like a halfway entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying? But it opened me up to what was really possible. It showed me that I could create a life by design. I started making almost $2,000 a month residual within my first 6 months in there. So it was really, it was like a college for entrepreneurship, really. And that's where I got my start, and before I moved on from that.
Awesome. Yeah. And for as many negative points as there is with that kind of stuff, you're kind of in the deep end. You kind of need to make stuff work. And I mean, unlike having the full kind of risk, you also get some of the benefit of, the support and access to assets and training and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And so then from there, you've pivoted into the business that you have now.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. So I left that in early 2017, and I was like, all right, by that time my business wasn't doing as good as it was. I was making like $300 to $800 a month after auto ship, which it's okay, but it wasn't like nothing to be like, oh wow, and so I was just hanging on that as a safety net kind of, and then I knew, though, I was like, man, this isn't for me anymore. Like, this is not what I was, called on to do. This isn't I'm grateful for it, but this, there's something more for me. And so beginning of 2017, I said, just cut this safety net and just dove in. And I wanted to become a life coach. And dude, I didn't make any money as a life coach or help anybody as a life coach. I might have helped people with conversations, but I didn't know anything about marketing. I was just trying to figure it out. And for the next year and a half, dude, it was rough. Really for the next 2 years financially was rough, but for the next year and a half was super rough. Just trying to figure this stuff out, learning about marketing, all this stuff. And then I realized, wow, I really love marketing like this. I love psychology. I just love psychology stuff. But yeah, after about a year and a half, that's when I started the podcast, and that's when things like started really changing for me.
Yeah, I love. I've listened to a decent amount. I love. There's this like attitude and flair that's like so uniquely you, but really interesting conversations. And being having a podcast myself, I don't know if you feel the draw or the addiction to it, but like I absolutely love doing it now.
Yeah, dude. It's fun, man. There's so many different things that's so cool about it. A lot of people experience that pod fade after so long, but I've never experienced that. I got tired of the editing and all that stuff, but then I created an agency and I no longer have to do that part, So, but in the beginning I had to, but the reason why I was doing my podcast, I was like, I don't care. I'll edit this freaking episode. We're going to do it because I love doing it. But yeah, man, there's so many cool things about it.
Yeah. And so how did you start growing it? Because it's quickly evolved, and I think it's evolved in a really interesting way. I'm enjoying watching the journey of it. The caliber of guests, and just kind of this, you can see like everything that you have about you is branded. You've got the banner, the microphone, cover. Like, it feels like it's like an all-in piece. So tell me a little bit about how, kind of went into the deep end on it, but like, how have you grown it? How have you evolved it?
Yeah, dude, we can get some in the more finer tactical stuff, because there's a lot about doing that. But really, one of the bigger things that was like a game changer was the way I evolved and thought about personal branding. So early on, when I was in network marketing, when I left network marketing, was doing the life coaching thing that never worked. I I thought that I thought I had to be something that I wasn't in order to be successful. And so I dressed in suits and ties, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it is for me to wear a suit and tie because it's not me. And it just says I don't look right in a suit. I could look right, but it doesn't feel right is what I'm trying to get at. I'm a t-shirt and hat kind of guy. Like, that's just in gym shorts or jeans or whatever. Like, that's me. You know what I'm saying? And so that, and then I was like faking like to be positive every day. Like, I was always positive, and like, I'm a positive person, but I'm also a negative person sometimes. I have negative days. There's times where I get angry. There's times where I get frustrated. There's times where I get sad. There's times where I get depressed. There's times where I get anxious. Like, I have every single emotion that every single human being experiences, but I thought like I couldn't share that part of me. You know what I'm saying? And when I stopped holding back the punches, and is it okay if I keep going down this rabbit hole? Because this is a little bit of a long-winded answer.
No, please. Yeah.
Right on. I just like to be respectful, because I remember, like, there's times on my podcast where I'd ask somebody a question and they start talking for 20 minutes. And you're like, dude, come on, man. But yeah, man. So when I broke through this is when I started realizing this. All right, with a podcast, it's you. People are tuning in to hear you, your thoughts, views, perspectives, and opinions. It's your brand. It's your personal brand. All right. Even with, if you're in a lot of cases, a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs have a personal brand, like they're selling through their personal brand, right? So here's the deal, though. It's where I got it wrong in the beginning, where a lot of beginner entrepreneurs get it wrong, and I still see a lot of people getting it wrong with this, is that it's like, oh, you got to make up this customer avatar and then serve that avatar and stuff. And he's got the demographics. He's a 35-year-old male married with kids, and he's a financial advisor, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, none of that shit even matters, dude. It doesn't even matter. Look, here, check this out. How can you create some imaginary customer avatar? Like, all right, companies like McDonald's, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, the biggest brands in the world, right? The biggest companies, even, they can create this imaginary customer avatar and then be the ideal that serves that avatar, because they can be whatever they need to be and sell whatever they need to sell to whoever the hell they want, right? And they also have the firepower to do it with now. But when we're talking about personal branding here, and the keyword being personal, you can't make up some imaginary customer avatar and then try to be the ideal that serves that avatar if it doesn't align with who you really are as a person. Like how I was wearing a suit and tie and being positive all the time. Like, it didn't align, and now it never hit. That's why I never made any money as a life coach. So the cool thing about that is that it makes personal branding easy. And I hate saying that. Like, I'm not the kind of guy that takes a picture in front of a rented Lamborghini and say you can make $1 million overnight. That's not my jam, right? but it makes personal branding easy in the fact that you don't have to try and map out this perfect customer avatar. All you got to do is get clear on who you are. What are your core values? What do you stand for? What do you not stand for? What are you all about? And once you have that dialed in and know that, and that's something that you have to stay on top of, because you grow and evolve, and from moment to moment, you're different. There's nothing, you know what I mean? But when you get clear on that, you just know who you are. Then all of your marketing, all of everything, you serve who you were yesterday or who you were just starting out or anywhere in between. And it makes it easy because you are that person. You can help that person. You understand that person, and you can help them get to where you're at. It simplifies the whole game.
Yeah. I love it. I think too many people try and be, the mistake I see is too many people try and be of service. They're like, well, it could be anybody. And you're almost like dancing around through these hoops to be like, oh, well, if I say this, will you like me? If I do that, will you like me? And it's like, it doesn't really work, because at the end of the day, if it's not you, then people pick up on that, I think.
Yeah, people, our bullshit detectors are pretty damn good. People can tell, and that's why I hate the word authentic and all that stuff, because like so many of these, like it's a great word, but so many of these cheesy entrepreneurs, and these fake entrepreneurs, they take it and beat it over the head and overuse it. So like the words like value and authentic and all stuff, to just be real. All you gotta do is just be real. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's really about. And people can tell when you're not being authentic or whatever, when you're not being real.
For sure. Yeah. One of the questions, or like one of the thoughts I wrote down, was just about how did you come to this bold you? And it sounds like it mostly came out of, I tried to do other things and I tried to appease the way that the world might work or the customers might buy. And it just doesn't really work.
Yeah. Dude, that was a problem that I dealt with for a large part of my life, where like I'm blessed in the fact that I was raised by my mom. And so like the way she raised me, by always constantly spoiling me, not materialistically, but affectionately, like you can do anything you put your mind to, and helping me boost my confidence. And just the way she lived her life, like we all have an ego. Everybody does. Anybody says they don't, you're a liar. We all got an ego, right? But I notice with men, my ego is not as like you got some dudes that you give them any type of helpful advice and they take it as like you're trying to assault their character and stuff like that or whatnot. So one of the things though is like I've had that going for me, but also like I'll take responsibility for stuff even sometimes when it's not mine, in order to take it off the other person, to kind of like, because I'm empathetic, right? And I can feel like, man, this guy won't be able to take, or whatever. And so I care deeply about a lot of people, and then I would do things that would put me in a bad position because I care so much and I wanted to be accepted by other people. And you know, I've grown and gotten past that to where I still, you know, want to be cool with peeps, you know what I'm saying? But I'm okay if you're not cool with me, because what guides me now is my core values, what I believe, what I'm all about, what I will stand for, what I will not stand for. And I run that through my filter now. And if it doesn't get past the filter, then it's just, we're not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I heard an interview with Kevin Hart that was on Tim Ferriss's show. I heard it a couple of weeks ago, and he said something around like, you know, his dad was, you know, a drug user and wasn't really around. And he said, you know, if I continue to stay mad at that, or like, you know, disassociate from him because of it, it doesn't, like, what does it help now? You can't change what's happened. And if I know it's not my fault. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If we're not aligned, we're not aligned. So there's a certain amount of effort that can go in to say, okay, this is like as far as I can go to bridge that gap. But like, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And I think I know of a lot of people that stay connected with people or in relationships that doesn't actually make sense for them to be friends or acquaintances or customers or what have you around it. Because I think people like being liked and are afraid of, sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah, man. So I think a solution to that, especially if like you're one of those people that are struggling with that at the time, what made that what helped me get through that, like, so when I came home from prison, just for an example, like, I had to change everything, dude. I couldn't hang out with the same people, places, or things anymore. That was like the only thing that I knew what to do when I was coming out. Like, I didn't know how I was going to be happy and successful and provide for my family, but I just knew I had to change my people, places, and things. That was like the only thing I knew what to do. And it was easy for me. It was because like at that, and the reason why it was easy is because I didn't start with why. And so this is going to be this is a firm belief of mine, man. And it's counterintuitive to what is taught a lot in the entrepreneurial world or the personal development world. Like Simon Sinek, great book. Like everything in that book was spot on, but you can't start with why. It has to start somewhere else. So I'm a firm believer you can't start with why. And hear me out. So how can I say why anything's important to me if I first don't know who I am? You know what I mean? Because I got to know who I am. And then by knowing who I am, then I can know what I want because I know who I am. And when I know who I am and what I want, then I can determine why what I want is important to who I am in the first place. And so that's what happened in that prison cell and that jail cell when I woke up from a blackout drunk and waking up to learn that I'm about to miss my twin son's birth in 20 days because I'm going back to prison. I didn't start with why. I didn't turn my life around because of why. A why plays a huge part in a lot of it, but I started with who. The first thing I said was like, damn, I'm about to miss out on my kids. This isn't who I am. I'm a good father. I love my kids. I'm a good person. You know, I have great intentions and stuff. And I started with who, and that was my identity. I had to start with the identity. Like, dude, for an example, like I smoked cigarettes since I was 9 years old, and recently I got over 3 months of non-smoking, and that's the longest I ever went in my life. And before, when I used to try to quit, people would be like, well, dude, you want a cigarette? I'm like, no, dude, I'm trying to quit. But that was the problem. I was saying I'm a smoker that's trying to quit, but I'm still a smoker. You know what I'm saying? Now when people ask me, do you want a cigarette? I'm like, nah, I'm not a smoker. You know, it's like I had to start with that identity, and then I could determine what I want and then why that's important. So when you start there, sorry for the long-winded answer, but when you start there and you get clear on who you are, what you're all about, what are your core values, what are you saying for, what are you not saying for, and then you know exactly what it is that you want that coincides with who you are, and then you develop the reasons why that's important to who you are, then not pleasing people doesn't even become a problem because it's who you are. And it's aligned with why you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting perspective on it. And I think depending on the type of business that you want, like I love the type of business that like guys like us have, where it's like, we own this thing. I don't know if you have an aspiration to like, you know, grow it into some huge company, or if it's more of a lifestyle business in your mind. For me, I'm more of a lifestyle business guy. It just suits me better. The idea of having, you know, 50 or 100 team members, I'm like, ooh, not for me. But how do you think about growth within your business? You've had you've obviously had taste of some scale, some success. So where do you go next with this? Man,
so that's something that I've been really doing a lot of deep work on. And when it comes down to it, of who I am and what I want to do and why that's important to me, I'm scaling it out. Like I'm going big. And the reason why behind that is because who I am, like I'm a seeker of truth. And so I'm not perfect, dude. I got a dark side. I have evil thoughts, desires, and emotions just like every other human being. And I'm not afraid to admit it. The ones that are afraid to admit it, those are the ones you got to watch. But I also have control over my dark side now. You know what I'm saying? It's governed by, because I incorporated it into the rest of my persona. I did a lot of shadow work, like Carl Jung talks about, whatnot. But I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Anyways, so I'm a seeker of truth, and I want to. I really want. There's stones that have not overturned yet in my childhood and stuff that I'm always that I'm working on. I'm 31 years old. I'm trying to go back and decode that shit right now. But at the end of the day, though, I know from my life experience, I know that you can beat any system. It doesn't matter if the system's designed against you, because I clearly beat the system that was designed against me coming out of prison. But at the same time, I want to create something that's not going to give anybody shit, but help people become what they need to be to beat that system. So for an example, the recidivism rates in the US are dwarf any other country in the world. Um, by a long shot, man. And it's a broken system, and it's built on money, and it's built to keep you coming back into the system. That's why it's built like that. And then on top of that, the resources that they have for you, like the classes you got to go to are complete utter bullshit. It's a complete waste of the taxpayer dollars anyways. And then on top of that, the resource they do give you they just give you shit. They give you a fish. They don't teach you how to fish. Welfare, food stamps, assisted living, that's keeping you dependent on the system. It's not empowering you. That's why Underdog empowerment. It's like, it's not giving you shit. Want to empower you to become the person you need to be, to go out and do what you need to do. And so long story short, what I'm doing right now with my podcast agency is a vehicle, like the cash cow. And I love doing what I'm doing anyway. I love podcasting, but it's the cash cow, the vehicle to the outsourcing agency that I'm building to help convicted felons and match them up in their jobs, but also build them up. That stuff that you don't even see in most of our school systems. And our goal is a 9% recidivism rate nationwide or lower. That's my goal. I'm so far off from it, but I'm fucking on it, man. And I'm doing that in my lifetime. I'm gonna like do it or die trying, one or the other.
Yeah, I think those are the goals that like the most successful people set. They're like, I'm probably going to die trying, but we're going to go for it and see what happens. So
hell yeah.
Good. That's very, I'll use the word empowering because it's relevant there to hear. I mean, it's a really cool goal. I think it gives back in so many different ways to people, to the culture, to society, so that's amazing. That's really a really cool path.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man.
Cool. Well, listen, I want to be respectful of your time. So I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, sharing some ideas in that. I'll obviously link everything up in the show notes, but where's the best place for people to find you or come across your content?
Yeah, dude. Hey, I appreciate that. Definitely the podcast. Obviously, I'm real passionate like you about it, man. It's just a cool platform, man. It's Underdog Empowerment. It's on pretty much any podcast platform that you listen to podcasts on. But to make it simple for everybody tuning in, you could go to underdogempowerment.com. There's a podcast section right there on the homepage. You might have to scroll down a little bit, but there's a red button. You click that. You got iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, whichever one. Hope to see you guys over there. And Mike, thanks for having me on your show, man. It was a blast.
Appreciate you, brother.